Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Kyle Aris here, the host of PMWL East, and I have with me Knight from B4 Esports joining me to talk about some of the stuff that's going to be going down. So first off, why don't you introduce yourself and your role within the team, friend?
Hi guys, my name is Otávio, as known as Knight. I'm currently the coach and analyst of B4 Esports.
So first things first, how did you get introduced to PUBG Mobile personally?
Actually, my first experience playing PUBG Mobile was a friend invited me to start playing in 2018, and I play a lot of tournaments, and here we are.
Perfect. What is your favorite memory related to the game, out of curiosity?
My best memory in the game was when you first qualified to PMWL in Malaysia. I think was our best experience because we weren't that confident, and in the last match we got the points necessary to qualify. So it was an amazing experience to travel around the world playing PUBG Mobile.
Which is your favorite map when it comes to competitive play, and why?
Our best map is Sanhok, because it's such a unique map and it's a fast map, so you have to develop our strategy very, very fast. You can't think too much when you're playing because you don't have enough time to do it. So it's a map 100% strategy. You just have to think the best way to play around the ground, the environment, and do your best.
How would you rate your team compared to the other PMWL participants coming up?
We just start studying the other teams because we only know a few of them, but I think overall we're like 8 out of 10 compared to the other teams in the World League.
What would you say is the team's favorite drop zone location across all maps? Just one choice.
In Erangel, we're used to play on Nova Rapnoi. In Sanhok, we're still in defining our spot because we're still studying the other teams. And in Vikendi, we're thinking about go Volnova.
And finally, what is your personal preferred weapon loadout?
My preferred weapon loadout is definitely M4 with compensator, angular grip, and muzzle extended. Well,
thank you very much, Knight, and best of luck in the PMWL. Good luck, man.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's Kyle Aris once again, one of the hosts here for the PMWL, and I have Beowulf on the line here with me from Cloud9. Now, first, why don't you introduce yourself as well as your role within your team?
Hello, I'm Beowulf, and I'm the in-game leader, which means I'm making all of the decisions for our team.
Awesome stuff. So, first things first, how did you get introduced to PUBG Mobile?
I got introduced to PUBG Mobile when I kind of was watching Twitch and saw some the larger streamers playing the PUBG PC version, and then I heard it was coming out on mobile, and I downloaded it the day it came out over 2 years ago, and I've been playing ever since.
Awesome. What is your favorite memory related to the game?
My favorite memory is definitely winning the PMCO 2019 regionals for North America. I mean, it just felt amazing, and I'd never won such a big tournament before.
Which map is your favorite when it comes to competitive play, and why?
My favorite has slowly become Sanhok, mainly because people don't use cars, so I'm able to predict every team's movement really well, like especially in the North American teams and the lobbies that we play. We all kind of know each other and what we do, so I'm able to predict where those teams are going to move to, and it allows us to make really good rotations.
As long as it's not a quarry circle, I'm kind of happy with Sanhok as well.
Yeah, as long as it stays somewhere on the main island, we're going to do well.
Okay, fair. Next question is, which team would you consider as your biggest rival throughout the upcoming PMWL?
Mainly Wildcard. is usually who we're competing against. North American team-wise, they're super strong, and they just made a roster change, which probably made them even stronger, and we're going to be looking to compete with them. Kind
of related to that, how would you rate your team compared to the other PMWL participants?
I mean, I think if we get off to the right start, we get a win in like the first day or two, like I think our momentum is going to carry us and we're going to win the whole thing.
All right. I guess we've seen that kind of momentum start in PMPL Americas when it came to the last week.
Yeah. The key is getting it rolling from day one this time.
Yeah. So what is your favorite drop zone location on any map?
Favorite drop? I really like South George, which is our Erangel primary drop location. South Georgia Pool. It's got a ton of space, ton of loot, and that's the most important thing, cars.
And final question is, what is your preferred weapon loadout? My
preferred loadout has changed a lot. And I've gone from like the Vector, the VSS. I like to use a lot of like off-meta guns that a lot of other people don't use, but my favorite right now is the DP and M4 combo. The M4 kind of does your close, mid-range, long-range, whatever you need it to do, and the DP is just super strong right now.
It's a powerhouse for sure. All right, well, thank you very much, Beowulf, and good luck coming up in the PMWL.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Down goes George, that's a confirmation, instantly switches to the 16!
Really could be, let's see if they go to the engagement, Genius for that, oh, big shot!
Welcome back, everyone, to another day of the PUBG Mobile World League West Season 0. I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, and I'll hopefully be able to bring you all the action coming up over this next month until we finally have our champion of the West and the person to take home, or the team to take home, the lion's share of the $425,000. But of course, I can't do this alone. I got to have two people with me to pretty much carry me through the entire show. The 7 Rules Gaming, and of course, Glitter Explosion going to be joining me here. And I was hoping for some floral pattern. What's going on, 7?
I got you.
Oh, you were hiding it from me. All right.
I got you. Yeah.
You two, you're matching.
Yes, we are finally. It is black and white, but whatever. It's flowers, you know. It is
like
matching.
yin and yang.
Yeah, we had to coordinate a little bit.
Exactly.
Hopefully you two aren't so mean to me today. Don't pick on me too much. It would be nice to have one of you supporting me, because technically I'm on the top of the table when it comes to the prediction game. But let's take a look at the format of the entire event for you guys at home who might have missed out on some previous days. We had the opening matches all for seeding to determine how the teams and how the groups, more importantly, would work out with each other. Then we have 2 weekdays of league play leading into the top 16 teams to play in the Super Weekend, which will last for 3 days. Now, the Super Weekend is important because you accumulate points across all 3 Super Weekends to see who the top 16 teams will be moving into the league finals. And Glitter, we've already had 4 teams unfortunately not make it through into our first Super Weekend, and they have a lot of work to do. I'm hoping for their sake they're sitting at home watching the broadcast, enjoying it obviously, and then practicing, looking at what they did wrong, looking at what they did right, and hopefully coming back stronger next week.
I mean, I know that's what I would be doing, because right now the best thing you can do is 1, work on whatever mistakes happened during league play that resulted in you not qualifying for the Super Weekend, and then 2, be taking notes on how exactly the Super Weekend is being played, because if it's a little bit different from league play, we did see a lot of aggression yesterday. That's something you definitely want to be paying attention to and potentially adjusting your gameplay to as well.
I love the aggression, 7. I love it because you know what? It nets teams a lot of kills. And why is that important as we take a look at the points and how you get them to get into a Super Weekend?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. 1 point, 1 kill equals 1 point, and that is huge. We have seen teams get some major chicken dinners. One that comes to mind, especially during league play, was Cloud9. Cloud9 ended up getting some with 15 kills, and then you had Loop Esports with 18 and 19 respectively. So those kind of points right there are very valuable, and I'm looking forward to see which team is gonna be the one that's kind of like the dark horse that's gonna just come out of the gates and absolutely smack everybody. I'm excited for that today.
Well, I could tell you, but I want to keep the predictions to myself so I can get those juicy points in our little game we got going on. But I also need to see, what are these teams playing for? There's $425,000 on the line. And you can see here, $100,000 Glitter for winning the finals. That's a lot of moolah. That's a lot of money that I would love to have.
It is. That is a ton of money. And you guys can see here on the graphic that not only is there the massive $100,000 prize pool, but there's also a $50,000 prize pool for the league play portion of everything. There's a weekly prize pool, and there's a participation prize on top of the MVP. There's so much money on the table to be had here for our players.
And Seven, I think you're just kind of wondering, yeah, why am I sitting here, you know, analyzing the game? Why aren't you playing it, man? You could be making big bucks.
Listen, I got potato fingers, all right? Don't even get me involved in this.
You got a teleshitter section with your hand. It's just a potato on each finger. Thing is, I can respect that because I'm pretty much the exact same thing when it comes to the potato aim. But you know who doesn't have potato aim are pro players. We've been talking about all week about this documentary series that's been going on, created by PUBG Mobile. You've seen the trailers for it, but we got something a little bit extra for you today. Coming out tomorrow, we'll be releasing the very first episode live on air. But for now, to keep your chops ready to go, we're going to show you a little bit of a teaser. I cannot wait until that first part comes out tomorrow. We get to watch it live on the air here. My favorite part about it, Glitter, though, is that you obviously get to watch the players play the game, right? You get to see them stream, but you don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes. And for me, that's what I want to see for these teams.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I want to see it too, that behind the scenes look where you can kind of see what exactly goes into the whole pro side things of PUBG Mobile, kind of get an insider personality look at the players. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some really, really cool stuff in this documentary series.
100%. I love to see how the teams can adapt with the ongoing global pandemic. But let's take a look, though, at our own pandemic going on here, the overall standings to see where the teams currently lay within the first day of play. And honestly, Seven, we're seeing a team on the top of the table that we really did not expect.
It surprises. Let's be honest here. Everybody was surprised at Dream Eater's performance. They were able to get back-to-back chicken dinners, and at one point we were hoping that they would be able to get that back-to-back-to-back. But guess what? Something I do want to go ahead and point out with Dream Eaters is that they ended up winning the matches that they did, the maps that they did not play on League Play. So it's going to be interesting if they're able to maybe go ahead and mirror that again today. And Footballists, I know we see Cloud9 there on second place. Footballists also being in third place. I felt like they were just so impressive, man. Yesterday being the team with the most kills at the moment so far with 38 kills. That is huge. That's 7.6 kills average per game. And as we're seeing here, the second page, Glitter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're surprised to see a couple teams here on the second page. Specifically, we were looking at Konina Power yesterday. Unique Pittsburgh Knights, we were surprised by them being on the second page as well. But Konina Power really, really struggled in our first day of the Super Weekend. Now, you and I had gone back and forth about this. We've said it a few times. They have historically so far struggled on the first day, whether it was an opening weekend or it was the league play portion, and then they've come back incredibly strong on the subsequent day. So is that what they're going to do today? Maybe they'll be able to pick it up and have those stellar performances that we've seen in the past.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders now to really show up after what happened in the first day of league play. But you know what? Luckily for them, it's not like it's the end of the world, right? You still have another day of the Super Weekend. You still have potentially 2 more Super Weekends if you can make it there. But Seven, as we talked about when we looked at the overall standings, Dream Eaters, there's something about this team, especially when we saw Miramar, especially when we saw Sanhok. But we got to talk a little bit more about these guys.
Yeah, we saw a completely different animal with Dream Eaters. Something we're mentioning is that, yes, they won Miramar. Yes, they won Sanhok. And we didn't even get a chance to see those maps during the first week of league play. So I wonder how this team is also going to react today. Could they go ahead and continue and kind of mirror those performances that we've seen so far out of them? Because it was not only just a win, it was a lot of kills to back it up. It was 2 wins along with 25 kills. Remember, those are points. Every single kill equals a point. So you want to go ahead and see them perform well. Now, what I want to see today out of them is I want to go ahead and see them perform even better on Erangel, because in Erangel, their track record is not as solid as I would like it to be. And to point out one player here from Dream Eaters, it's Matic. One player that we just keep on talking about over and over again. This is a player that has been performing, that has been showing, and as we're seeing right there, being able to go ahead and win that engagement with Loops Esports, that was so huge. And you're still seeing him because he is just that good. Glitter, I think Matic could definitely become a star here on the PMWL West.
Oh, absolutely. And we actually saw him propel himself up on the overall kill standings per player right now, and he's currently sitting in 3rd place with 34 kills to himself alone. So he's definitely a player that we're going to be following today, paying attention to, and I'm excited to see what Dream Eaters can do on those maps like Miramar and Sanhok.
And the important thing about that is we also need to compare how those stats have really gone between the team of themselves on those other maps versus these maps. You can see in week 1, they only played Vikendi, they only played Erangel, and already off the bat within the Super Weekend, within 1 day, they have a phenomenal lead in this 7.
They definitely do. The placement points has been pretty much a complete difference. Something I do enjoy seeing out of this, though, is that their kills have been pretty consistent. That is something that you love seeing from teams. And also the matches. Keep in mind, the matches played. In the week play, we had 8 matches played. Now we have 5. And so far, they have pretty much just outdone themselves, outdone the performance that they were able to go ahead and put out. So that's why this today, that's one team that I'm going to be looking at, because I honestly, I want to see if maybe they're able to go ahead and be consistent with placing. We know they can be consistent with kills, but can they be consistent with placement as well?
And Glitter, there's another stat in there they wanted to talk about. I'm curious if you remember what we talked about before the show out of them in terms of points they've been able to earn across the board compared to 11 matches played on Vikendi and Erangel.
Yeah, so we actually, or you specifically noticed that they had accrued 65 points on just the 2 maps that they did well yesterday during the Super Weekend versus 79 overall points between those 11 matches of league play and opening weekend. That's a huge discrepancy because they essentially almost matched their overall points in 2 games. If they can continue to play like that, they are going to be unstoppable. And if it's really that big of a difference for them on those maps, like you said, moving into our next weeks of league play, that could be a huge advantage for them.
Yeah, and also you looked at their average stats that were kind of comparing between league play and just yesterday. There was a 3-match difference. We had 8 matches played in league play, 5 only in the first day of the Super Weekend, and they still had basically the exact same stats, if not better. But you mentioned one player, Seven. You mentioned Matic. Let's take a little bit of a closer look into him, maybe dive into some stats. As we can see here, 6,300 damage done. He is stepping up when they need it.
Yeah, he definitely stepping up when they need it. He's winning. He's becoming that clutch player from them, and that is huge. We've always mentioned you need to have that kind of player in a team, and pretty much everybody to rally behind them, because if everybody's able to rally behind them, guess what? Some of the other players that might have been slacking, not necessarily slacking, but have been just not performing to what we expect them to perform, they're going to go ahead and step it up. They're going to want to go ahead and support their star players. So love to see whenever a player becomes a star within their team.
Well, another team that is a star and also has star players on them is Loops Esports. We didn't get to see much of them yesterday, Glitter. We got to see a lot of them when it came to the league play, but we should talk about this team because they had a little bit of a struggle, though they're still playing pretty consistent and pretty damn aggressive.
Yes, they absolutely are. And that is just the Loops style, is it not? I mean, we had mentioned that they did incredibly well for themselves so far in the league play portion of this week, where they were one of the only teams that had hit triple digits in overall points for quite some time. Then we moved into the Super Weekend, and they did end up struggling a little bit. They got 7th, 3rd, 8th, 13th, and 14th, and I think the most disappointing placement out of all of those was actually the final Erangel map with 14th place, because they had already managed to rack up 7 kills by that point. So they had started finally kind of getting into a groove with their very, very stereotypical aggressive play that we've seen out of them at this point, and then they were unfortunately third-partied and they couldn't wrap that final game up. But nonetheless, the star player that we keep talking about, Carrillo, is crushing it. He has now been so consistent regardless of the team's performance, and I think that's also super important for us to touch on, Seven.
Oh, definitely. And from seeing the stats there that you see on your bottom right screen, he has 39 kills and 37 knocks. So not only is he finishing the people that he knocks, he's also looking at other ways to go ahead and steal more kills and add more points to that tally for his team. And at one point, remember, we just saw a highlight from Dream Eaters going up against Matic. Guess what? Carrillo almost ended up 1v4 in Dream Eaters. And that's just so impressive considering Dream Eaters is currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard.
And there's something really interesting you just mentioned about Creo, by the way, Seven, that he gets more kills than Nox. That's just been like an identity of Loops Esports, right? When we compared them to Cloud9 yesterday, they're a team who, beyond any other team that we've seen, seem to hunt out those kills. And we saw that reflected kind of in one of the games yesterday, right? We saw when they were playing passive, when they had the zone, when they're in one of those compounds, they kind of got pushed out and they eventually fell. But when they're the ones controlling the pace, they seem to be the team to beat.
Yeah, this is definitely a team that needs to go ahead and be aggressive. As you mentioned, we saw them, it was Vikendi, where they just hold off a compound and it didn't end up working their way. They weren't as aggressive as I'm used to seeing them. And then in the next match in Erangel, they were just destroying everybody, as we're going to go ahead and be switching here towards Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 is another team that we wanted to go ahead and talk about, because yesterday there are another team that ended up getting 2 chicken dinners. And they ended up getting 2 chicken dinners in Erangel only, with having bad placements on some of the other matches like Vikendi and Miramar. They ended up only getting 11th place, 1 kill, 10th place, 2 kills. So hopefully what I want to see from them, even if they do end up getting bad placement, I want them to step it up on the kills department. And at one point they ended up being 3rd place as well with 0 kills. So I know they have players like Adder, I know they have players like Uneven. And actually a quick little fun story for everybody watching at home. Cloud9 currently has 2 EU players and 2 NA players, with Uneven being born in France. I think that's pretty cool, and that's a interesting dynamic that they have in that team. But overall, I think they're performing so well, and as we're seeing some of the information there from Adder. Remember, Adder used to play for Team Unique in previous tournaments. This is a huge addition for Cloud9, and it's paying off here on the PMWL, and it's something I love to see. And I wouldn't be surprised if other teams in North America and just other teams pretty much all over the world start just mixing it up with players from different regions. I think it would be very interesting.
100%. And Glitter, there's also something I wanted to mention about Cloud9 that we actually brought up when we were watching one of the games, is whenever you see them into these final zones with 4 players alive, they just don't lose.
Yeah, they seem to be just very, very cohesive in that way. Every time we see them past, once we're into that late game stage of the match, if we see Cloud9 with all 4 players up, we're always going to be watching them and seeing what they can do. Because, like Seven said, in both Erangel matches, that was the situation. They had full team, and they absolutely smashed those end games. So that's something that's definitely important for them. It's clear that they work so well together that they can function as that unit, that it's almost the point where if one of them is gone, it does hinder them a little bit. Is that something that they need to maybe work on if they're stuck with a 3-man up type situation, and then really nail down winning in those types of games, but also, like Seven said, focusing on some of those other maps as well?
I mean, maybe that's why we need to see them get more kills, right? Maybe they're afraid to take fights early on because they do lose a player and then they don't feel as confident going into the very late stages of the game. But speaking of the game, let's take a look at the schedule so you guys at home can see what maps will be playing throughout the day. It's the exact replica of what we had yesterday, and it'll be the exact same thing tomorrow. We're starting off with Erangel, going to Vikendi, Miramar, Sanhok, and Erangel yet again. And it's so important for teams to have those strong Erangel maps for themselves, or to have it as a map that's completely in their pool that they feel super confident on. But then you have teams like Dream Eaters. The amount of points they're able to build up on just Miramar and Sanhok alone is ridiculous, Seven, that they don't even need to play that well on Erangel, funny enough.
It is. You're going to have those teams that are just masters at a certain map, and they're able to go ahead and have some cushion on them. Some of the other teams that I want to go ahead and mention that haven't really performed that well in Erangel, or at least didn't perform that well yesterday in comparison to all the other maps, was Footballers. Footballers in the first match of Erangel, they ended up being in 13th place. Something I do love about Footballers, though, is that they are very consistent in kills. They're almost always getting over 5 kills a game. I think yesterday there was just one fluke when they ended up with 16. I don't know who picked them between us, but they totally jinxed them. They ended up in 16th place and 0 kills. I don't think it was me. It might have been Jason.
I don't think the standings show that I picked them, to be honest. I think I'm like 100 points almost above Cameron Davis, which he's probably going to hate me when he comes on the cast later on. You know, it's not my fault. You know, I was born a star. It's not my problem, you know. But, you know, we've got Glitter rise up in the ranks.
You are doing very well, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. Well, obviously, we need to kind of get into our prediction game soon. We need to start to predict who will take the first game, or who we at least see to do well. And honestly, it's kind of a lottery. It's kind of a little bit of a lucky draw, just like a lucky draw you guys can win at home. As long as you guys are watching within the game, within the Esports Center, you have a chance to win some sweet, sweet items. So make sure you're watching from there. Also watch, you got YouTube, you got Twitch, you got so many different ways to watch some PUBG Mobile action. But guys, we're getting in to our prediction game. Who's going to be the lucky one in game number 1? I'm going to be generous. I'll start off first for you guys, okay? I'll give you the chance to think about it a little bit longer.
Okay.
I could tell Seven was still trying to figure out what he wanted to go for. I'm going with Loops Esports on the basis that I think they're coming in today with something to prove. I feel like they're going to look to steamroll some teams and, more importantly, get me further up the leaderboard. Seven?
Oh, God. I like how now you're talking about the leaderboard. Before, when I was in first place, none of that leaderboard.
There was no leaderboard.
But now that Jason, now that Jason's in first place, oh yeah, our leaderboard. Don't worry, you guys will get a chance to see. And I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and follow with what you're saying. Totally not because you're in first place, just because I also believe Loops Esports needs to have a better game overall day today, and I think they're gonna be able to put that out. And before we even get Glitter's prediction here, for everybody watching on Twitch, let me know. Do you guys want potatoes on the next analyst section? Let me know in the comments. Potatoes, yes or no?
All right, Glitter, it's your time. Who do you got? Who's the team that's going to unfortunately tank in the first game?
I really hope that's not the case. However, you know, similar reasoning to why you guys chose Loops, but I'm actually going to be picking B4. Not only do I also think that they have something to prove today, but they got 3 second places yesterday out of 5 matches. They were right there, almost in that chicken dinner position 3 times. So I feel like as long as they can carry that into today, they're positioned to do very well.
Well, they don't call it lucky number 4, unfortunately, Glitter, but we'll see how B4 does in this match. We'll check in with you guys after this first match is done. Thank you, guys. So let's bring in now our commentators here for our very first game. We got Envirum and we got Cameron Davis going to be coming in to talk about their predictions as well. But first of all, Envirum, Cameron, you guys are looking fantastic today. How you doing, Envirum?
Oh, I'm doing well. My shirt's not quite as snazzy as Cameron's is, but you know, we're holding it down. We're doing our best.
Hey, you look phenomenal today. Don't let them make you feel bad, okay? So Cameron Davis, going into your prediction.
Anything.
Yeah, you didn't have to. No. Going into your prediction here for match number 1. Who are you leaning towards, man?
I'm just gonna go with Cloud9. Okay, they've been the most consistent if you want to look at both league play and the Super Weekend, and I am not in a position to overthink things at this point. Just Cloud9.
I don't know if you heard me earlier on. I did say I'm about 100 points ahead of you. That's going to change though today. I have a feeling you're going to do well. And Viram, what about you, man?
I went with Tempo Storm first yesterday and didn't have the most success with it. They finished well, but they didn't get a ton of kills. I'm going to give them a shot at redemption today. I'm going to go Tempo Storm again. They traditionally do pretty well on Erangel, and they traditionally start the day as well. Cloud9 did win this corresponding game yesterday, so Cameron may have an advantage there, but we'll see.
Okay, well, gentlemen, why don't you take us into our first match of the day here of Super... Oh, no, we're actually going to be talking a little bit more then again about the game. We talked about Dream Meters earlier on with the analysts. I actually want to hear your guys' opinions on this. We'll start off with you, Cameron Davis. They performed extremely well yesterday on Miramar and Sanhok. Yeah. Do you think this team can carry that success over into these other maps and then be as dominant?
It's definitely possible. Their wins were quite, not in necessarily like dominant fashion, but it was very confident fashion. The issue is we're only looking at 1 game on each of those 2 maps, and that's a very, very small sample size to have full confidence that they're going to be able to continue it on. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to like fully step it up, because you talking about their performance on Vikendi versus those 2 maps is something that we should be continuing to look at. I wouldn't suggest to anyone place all their chips onto Dream Meters just yet.
What about you, Envirum?
Yeah, I was going to kind of lean in and agree with that here. I think the difference we're seeing between league play and now the Super Weekend, I think, is going to be very, very interesting and indicative sort of how teams are going to approach everything as a whole, but we need 1 more day. I think on Sunday, you know, once we have 2 days of gameplay under our belts, we can really start to make some of these hard and fast decisions of what teams are really stepping up and what their full potential is going to look like. But I think for today, this is really going to be a, you know, strike while the iron is hot kind of situation, especially for a team like Dream Meters. If they can show up and continue to prove themselves today, I'm a believer. They're going to make a believer out of me. I want to see it.
I'm hoping they can for their sake. I'm also hoping to see a lot of aggressive play yet again like we saw yesterday in day number 1. But gentlemen, take us into our first match as we kick off on Erangel.
Thank you so much, Jason. Excited to start the day off once again on Erangel. It's the bread and butter of PUBG Mobile. It's the map we all know and love. And of course, it's the map that these teams have so much experience on. Cameron, this really just feels like this is sort of the default, and everything else is sort of like a condiment or a spice that you put on top.
I mean, I don't know I wasn't expecting to go the food route with that one, but I definitely see what you mean. It's certainly the basis for the entirety of the game, and I think that's sort of the inspiration for why a number of different maps like go in different directions. Sanhok being the smaller one, Vikendi being an interesting combination between Sanhok and Miramar. But going into Erangel, this plane path, I feel like we have yet to get. That's not true. The second game of Erangel yesterday had a pretty good plane path. But this one, once again, to start things off, garbage.
This is going to be interesting for some of those teams. Looking at you, Cloud9, that likes to head up to Georgie. They're going to have a little bit of a hike. Wildcard as well. A couple of these other teams going to have a little bit of driving, which we saw yesterday. And we had sort of theories going into day number 1. Are teams going to play more passive? Are they going to play more aggressive? Like, what is the thought process going to be like? And I felt like we didn't even get a good answer off of it because earlier games in the day looked way different than games, even like map 1 Erangel looked way different than map 5 Erangel, which I thought was so interesting. Teams are still feeling out what the other ones are doing. I think the fact that we're not having the groups anymore is for the Super Weekend makes that very, very interesting in the sense that it's like, well, we have a better sense of where everybody's going to kind of go. This is a very friendly circle. It's going to benefit a lot of these teams, but I still think that, like I said, today is really going to be the day that as casters, as analysts, as fans, we're going to start to get a sense of what these Super Weekends are looking like moving forward over the next month.
Yeah, I mean, the one interesting thing about that topic, though, that concept, is that it's not like these are the same 16 teams necessarily that are going to be in every single Super Weekend. So while I do expect to see a majority of them be in each and every one, after all, you only lose 4 out of 20, there still could be a little bit of a learning curve. And, oh, speaking of learning curve, do not drop next to Wildcard. Spring is going to remind you that a shotgun can still kill you from that distance away.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That was, well, that's a way to start things off already. I mean, boots have just touched the ground and we have our first kill here. I think honestly, that just feels like a bit of a lack of respect. Like, you need to respect the fact that, you know, if they see, if you're the killers to start this off, like, you're going to be punished if you try and make plays like that. I mean, that just seems like, you know, the hubris. How dare they? You know, I don't know. That shouldn't happen at this level of play, in my opinion.
When you have a plane path as bad as that one was, and a lot of the teams going in the same direction, I don't want to harp too hard on Uter killers because with where they're going towards Razak, and we know that school is an area that people form up, apartments is an area that people form up around, and then to the east, just even Yasnaya, people going towards Yasnaya, they should have expected at least a little bit of contention there. I hope that car, they can pull that one out. That one looks a little sketch, but either way, I don't want to harp on that too much. You're correct that when they saw Wildcard actually go into the compound, instead of grabbing a vehicle and going to the Severity, they wanted to loot up that compound first. They should have pulled away a little bit, and the attempt to grab that buggy was maybe a little bit of an overextension. But it was still a decent thought process there for Uter killers.
Yeah, and they're another one of these teams that sort of, you know, they made it into the Super Weekend, not in the most solid position overall, but have had some, you know, some up and down kind of moments here. I mean, they're not coming into this as the bottom place team. They're 11th in the group so far. They had, you know, a 3rd place finish, a 4th place finish to start off the day. On the maps that they've been playing the most recently, they struggled a little bit on Miramar and Sanhok. But here on Erangel, they tend to do okay. So we'll see if they're going to be able to, you know, recover that with only 3 players alive. Of course, we know that makes it so much more difficult. But I like the fact that we're looking at B4, because B4, you know, we talked about Dream Eaters and how great Dream Eaters looked winning back-to-back chicken dinners, how amazing that was. But who was the other team that was right there with them? Glitter touched on this. They had 3 second-place finishes yesterday, including the 2 games up against Dream Eaters. It was the same 2 teams in those final games, and they had a second-place finish up against Cloud9 on Erangel to start the day. This is another one of these squads I'm looking for, especially with this circle, which is going to give them even more time to get that free Millie loot.
I'm still a little salty about them because they perform so well up until I pick them.
Oh yeah.
So you know it's fine. It's okay. I'm the new guy. I'm the new guy to the broadcast to PUBG Mobile. It seems here, and so they got to haze me at least a little bit. It's fine. I'll let them get it out of their system. I'll stick around. They're not going to scare me away that easily. But Cloud9, the team that I did pick this time around, you called out that you were a little nervous about the rotation. They didn't go all the way to Georgia Bowl. They just went to Primorsk, which was wide open and free. They dropped very quickly. It was the closest place that anyone could have gotten to. And so their rotation timing should be good. And I'm actually a little surprised that we still don't see them moving just yet. They might be not showing full respect to the other teams that are going to have, I guess, an even greater priority into this circle. Because at this point, if I were in their position, I would have liked to be in a better spot on the circle.
Yeah, I mean, rotating around Corey, you still have that whole western side. They have the entire western side of the circle at this point. They've got decent options. They could even head up, towards George still, outside of Gatka towards Everest. There's still some options here for them. But I agree. They're taking their sweet time here. I think that's because they know they're cognizant of who is dropping around and realize they have a pretty wide berth right now. Unless B4 wants to come up and flank west for whatever reason, they're really not going to be dealing with too many people here at this point. So I don't hate this decision the most. I think it's interesting though that Wildcard did make regardless of where this playing path, they made their Severny run. This is their jam, and they are sticking to it. And there's something to be said for a team that's going to stick to their guns. But PK. That's another team we haven't talked about a lot.
Well, they haven't really given us a lot to talk about, if we're being honest. Like, even when they perform their best games, it's been off of one or two players being able to crawl into the circle and just sort of steal placements bit by bit. And we've seen a couple of hero plays by a couple of the players, especially during league play. But as a full squad, they haven't really seemed to be able to find that X factor, that extra spice and flavor that they need to really make it big. However, in this circle, at this time, they are not dead center, but they are pretty close. And they can watch while everyone else comes rotating in, which is only going to give them so much information and be able to map out the rest of the game and know exactly the best game plan during the phase 2 and 3 circle shifts.
Yeah, and they're going to have to come up with a game plan because yesterday, not going so well for them. They only had a total of 8 kills over the 5 games. Their last 2 games, they did not net themselves a single kill. A single kill. Yeah. And another team that really needs to step up is Nova. Nova Esports, can you believe it? Coming in 16th place today. They placed 4 out of 5 games were 13th, 14th, 15th.
Yeah.
Like, they have just not been able to get it together so far. And we'll see what they can do there, as we do see actually a member of Dream Eaters, one of these squads we were hyping up, get knocked out in the kill feed. So again, nobody is safe here, but Nova Esports, if you just need to reset, you need to shake off day number 1, pretend it never happened, and they need to get GFan in the action here. He's one of their best fraggers, he's one of their top gunners, and it seems like he's been getting knocked down first in a lot of these fights, kind of actually reminiscent of Tixie and Kanita Power, who needs to be allowed to play their game, and if you can shut them down early, the team just seems to have so much less of an impact without them helping to lead them. And speaking of Kanita Power, another one of these teams that's sort of locking eyes of Loops. Loops has been in the middle of so many of these different squads, and there's Tixie like I was talking about. No! If Carrillo gets him down, and this is, of course, a lot of the top fraggers on the server. This is exactly the kind of story that we're talking about. The idea that if you can shut down your counterpart on the other squad, if you're Carrillo and you can take out Tixie, you're going to have the biggest advantage in the world over a team like Konita Power.
Ooh. No one's been knocked yet in the kill feed between the two squads, so they don't have the specific information of exactly who they're fighting with. But already you saw Dadeen, the minute they took that spray, they know Konita Power on this hill. He was trying to find an off angle, and that pressure is forcing Konita Power to back off. Yes, they have a compound they can hide in, but the information that they get from this compound is really not that great, because you can see this hill that Gonzo is on is blocking all vision from the west side, which is why he's having to take the risky position of actually trying to get on the hill, but he's not even too sure about that. They're going to be lacking information going into phase 2, I feel.
I actually hate that compound for that exact reason.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
It's not ideal. I mean, I feel like the amount of times anyway, you just get flanked.
Ooh. See, this is the problem with it, though. They have no clue what's in front of them. They know Loops shot at them, but they have no real ability to gain information. And now the rotation is also going to be scuffed, too, because if Loops doesn't move, Konita Power are now forced to go north, go basically around Pachinki, and you know the area north of Pachinki is very, very difficult to traverse and drive in, and they should suspect, we know for sure, that there are a number of teams already set up there.
I also do want to note, though, that Cloud9 did take the rotation path that I predicted. They did head up towards north of Gatka, up towards Everest as well, so they're actually going to be in a great position. They have the entire western side of the circle, but this center area, like we're seeing now, I mean, Roz and even in just west of Pachinki, this is like I mean, I feel like we're on a major interstate road.
Oh, J7!
Oh, J7. That's not the compound you want to enter, friends. I'm getting flashbacks of yesterday of Cloud9. That's not how you do it. That's not the send you're looking for.
And they had a perfectly good compound the rest of the Knights are at.
Yeah.
And we saw Tempo driving up. I don't know were Knights just not paying attention and assuming it was free, and they're sending J7 out to scout. But if you scout, you don't just drive straight at it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask them after this what the game plan there was, because I just can't seem to make anything out of it. The compound that Knights have right now is perfectly fine. Couple of good shots to get a knock. I don't know if Knights can trade off of this, though. I don't think going into the compound will be worth it. They can't flush the kill, but still. It's maybe taking off a helmet. I didn't exactly see, but it's good damage nonetheless.
And that's the reason. That's the reason that PK picked up Sixless, is for shots like that. He is supposed to be this slayer, this fragger for the squad. And hitting those kind of shots are exactly why you bring him on your team. As we're jumping back on board with Yala Esports. Yala, one of these teams that didn't impress us a whole lot during league play, kind of snuck in here to the Super Weekend, but they've been looking really a lot better. Definitely a little bit more consistent overall. I mean, they brought their average placements up about 5 or 6 from league play. So really solid job for them, as they're actually potentially going to look to fight a team in Uter Killers, who we already know was down a member. It's just Nano right now, but I'm not sure if they know he's there. But let's take a look
really
back.
Good play by them. Yeah, we're going to see the replay, I think. Is this is okay, so this is Dream Eaters getting their first knock. It's actually a full kill.
Yep.
But I want to talk about this Yala push, though. I really like this maneuver. There's basically keeping Uter Killers pinned inside of Razak, and not really any of them can move. I actually think they already wiped out a couple of members of Uter Killers. The problem is that this Razak is not in the circle, and you can see the blue coming in on the mini-map, but it's only phase number 2. So it's not going to deal too much damage. And if Yala can actually execute effectively, which seems to be the case, oh, okay, I thought that was Nano's grenade that hit himself.
Oh no, this is just the push now from Yell. I mean, there's the down. Wow, that was... I mean, they burned a decent amount of grenades for it, but that was pretty flawless execution. That's 100% worth. You're only going to take tick damage from the blue at this point. And that's Uter Killers now down to 1 single member. They have just not been having the best start for the day. They're going to have a hard reset off of this one. But another team that really showed up in a big way on day number 1, of course, it's Footballists, and they've got themselves a great position now. They're starting to climb the mountain, and they are going to have a big vantage point. I mean, really, the shift here. The shift is really going to determine how viable the spot is for them, because as much as we talk about the idea that this mountain, it can be a place that you plan. I was going to talk about how it could be your grave. I could do plant your flag, or it could be your grave if it's not. No, if you're Footballists, you just took the biggest sigh of relief. You're feeling so good, Cameron.
Yeah, just the vantage point that they have, they can get a bunch of kills, steal a lot of kills of fights that are going to happen, because you know everyone's going to be rotating in from the southeast side. Unique also had a very good rotation coming into this. They came in late, they found the safe side, and they got a little fortunate with this shift. It would have been effective no matter really where it went, but they're also in a good position now. Cloud9 are great. It's a lot of teams are good if they can find a position, but we've seen a bunch of teams coming from the southeast side, just north of Gatka. Nova not doing it so well.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for Nova. They needed to try and get out of there unscathed, losing 1 member. Oh my goodness, not ideal. We're also seeing, I think it was Uneven go out in the kill feed as well, and this is where we're going to start to see that kill feed really light up. Things are going to get exciting. We'll see if Alpha wants to continue to pursue Nova there and push their way further on into the circle. But Team Umbra as well, another one of these squads doing okay on day number 1. They did have a top 4 finish, but they also went out in 16th twice in a row. But they were able to put up some better performances over the course of the day. Let's see if they can do that here as well, sort of carry the momentum from the back half of the day and ignore that rather lackluster start. There we go.
I'm looking at the map right now, and I'm really we still have yet to see anyone go take compounds to the northwest of Georgia Bull Mountain and take those compounds around there. There's still a lot of people fighting over this southeast side, and there's a lot of fields here. There aren't as many compounds as there are in other areas of the map. There's a big giant field basically on the west side that C9 have a player in. C9 are pretty split here, but on the top of the mountain, it's not just Footballists anymore. Queso have made the drive up here. And you expect usually to see 2 teams on each side, one on the east, one on the west, and they'll eventually fight later at the center if it stays prominent in the circle. I really don't expect to see them put too much pressure on each other, too many resources, because this is like they're in the perfect position to pick up kills of all the underlings below them. All, the poor people down being swallowed, like while you're up in the ivory tower. Don't worry about each other.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, look, there's enough we can share. We can both get some love. We can both get some kills. And speaking of kills, Konina Power is taking a little bit of punishment there in the kill feed as well. But no, I agree. This is going to be a pretty good position for both of these teams. If, I mean, it can get really spicy if they decide they want to fight each other. Raum just putting, that is a tough shot to make at the best of times. And not with the 4X. So, and both these teams, of course, are going to know there's another team up there at that point. So definitely keep an eye on that if they do decide they want to duke it out here. As now we're seeing B4 looking to maybe get into a bit of a tussle here, as well as Loops. Loops, again, one of the teams we talk about their ability to breach compounds. We talk about them, they're looking the best when they play aggressive. Oh, that circle. Oh, no.
Like I said, no one's in the northwest side. It's going to be that's free real estate. But right now, Loops and Knights, they just want to get real estate by killing each other. They don't care about rotations. They don't care about any of that boring, smart person, chalkboard. They want the micro. They want the frags.
They want to send.
Nice attempt for a trade by Raven, but Becker is still up close.
And now he's the distraction. This is giving the opportunity for the other two to flank around the side. Beautiful execution. The Breachers are home. And this is Loops Esports doing what they do best. We talk about the chalkboard, the whiteboard. They should be writing a textbook on this one. And Pittsburgh Knights will be the victims here. They don't want to get knocked out first, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And that is Loops Esports looking so...
Getting the sprays down. Nova just can't find anything for themselves either. And is that them out too?
No, I still see AZ up. But oh my goodness, Nova, they've just been, every single time they try and take a fight, they can never seem to get out of it clean. But B4 in a bit of a rough position. They've got this little bit of a rise. They've got some vehicles for covers, but they've got teams around them now just raining in grenades. And Mick did go down to start this off. And Unique, you talked about their rotation. They made this beautiful northern rotation up around the mountain that has put themselves in such a great position now. They've got this building. They've got a bit of the high ground, but Maxon's still able to land those shots.
Annalise needs to be careful. I do like that hill, and it's going to be a lot more prominent for Unique later in the game, but right now they have to worry about not overextending with it and try and stay safe. And you can see them. They're not actually fully committing Lightning and Frozen on top of that hill. They're just sort of using a ridge to peek and put pressure, but they're not overcommitting. They're making sure that they stay alive, because if they get knocked, that doesn't do anything for them.
Yeah, but I think there's one thing we have to talk about now before it really comes into effect with this next circle, and it's the idea picking a side. I think it's a very good chance that the circle is going to go to the northern side of the mountain at this point, but there's still technically a chance that we can see out to the west or to the south, and the idea that teams are going to have to make a call. Which side do we want to go on? We're seeing all these teams in the north now, just outside of Georgia Pole, but this is going to, because if we see a hard shift, they're going to have to now try and traverse this near impassable terrain with all these enemies around them. This is going to get very scary if we get another hard shift as Footballers gets eliminated. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, rough game for them, but it's been a rough game for a lot of these teams because just it's not even whiplash. It doesn't go back and forth. It's just all in one direction. The G forces of the circle are just making people loopy. Making Loops a little bit loopy. They were the last ones to rotate in. They're getting picked off on the edge of the circle as well, as we're still seeing this close quarters fight between Konina Power, who have lost a couple of members, and Yala Esports, who have looked pretty solid. These guys have been fighting for a while now, but Tixie is still up and alive, and that means you cannot count this team out because this guy knows how to frag. Ooh, Umbra getting into a buggy. This could be dangerous. A lot of smokes, but that's still an easy target on the back, and Lord hears the vehicle revving up.
Seeing them now, trying to find the angles. Was Lord able to steal that out? I'm not sure. We're still seeing these fights. A couple of these different teams just trying to find these angles in and around the crates. This is so difficult to try and manage because you're trying to work all these angles at the same time.
The circle!
Oh, this is what I was talking about. This is exactly the circle that I was talking about. Oh my goodness. And with that, I think, like, Loops is in a terrible spot right now. I mean, we have the teams that went up early, like Tempo is fighting with Queso, like, on the mountain. Whoever controls that fight as well is going to be in a huge position as this close quarters fight is continuing. But teams have to decide, do we want to keep doing this or do we want to back up right now? Because at this point, they're going to have to shift. But if you do, you're just going to have bullets in your back. This is a no-win scenario.
Yeah. Y'all, it's all into Konina Power. It's, wow, yeah, so both teams on top of the mountain, Footballers and Queso, got taken out by Alpha Legends and Tempo Storm, stealing that away from them. So we didn't see exactly how it happened, but to me that just reads as trying to watch too many things at once and overextending your resources in terms of angles that you can hold. But Grenada Power, they got to go big here because, as you mentioned, if they just try and rotate away, I don't even know the vehicle situation for them. But Yala also want them to take this fight now because the blue is coming in. And honestly, whoever wins this fight, this is probably going to be the last number of points that they're going to get before the rotation. But Tixie can't even get it.
Oh my goodness. Beautifully played there from Yala. Oh, the 2v1. He had no options on that angle. They have one player down before still alive. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get the res, though. They have to cut their losses here. Let's go up to the top of the mountain, though, as we're seeing Tempo Storm, all 4 members alive, now facing up against Alpha Legends, the 2 teams vying for the high ground. And here we go. Tempo Storm has had a great run so far. They were able to take out Team Queso up at the top there, but where are the rest of the... Oh, no, they're working this cool 2v2 angle covering both sides of the mountain at once, wanting to make sure that what happened to Grenada Power right there doesn't happen again, where you go up and you expose yourself to 2 players at the same time.
Yala still making this run, able to get in front of the blue, and Anas is there, separated from the other remaining duo on the revive right now, but the blue is taking, the blue is really hurting at this point. No option to get to the vehicle, and Lord, get out of the way!
Oh, no. Oh, they're getting shot in the back by Team Umbra. This is what I was talking about, the team that's going to rotate. I mean, Umbra goes out, but they were able to be so annoying before they were. Yala Esports now in a terrible spot because Wildcard, while all this was going on, was just kind of chilling during this. They still have all 4 members alive, and now Yala Esports, they're already in a terrible spot. Alpha Legends is putting the work in as well. I think that's Loops Esports basically out of this to boot. I mean, they're just in a terrible spot, but this is the idea of this high ground. Oh my goodness, Cameron, this is such chaos.
Replay here. The fight a while ago of Nova getting close to being eliminated. As well as Loops, you actually mentioned they're pushing from the side, and they really didn't have a lot of options, but at least they're able to pick up those kills against the Knights, and that just shows you, compared to the Yala Grenada Power incident, you know, let me hold on to that, because there's a fight happening on top of the hill.
There is, and that's Tempo Storm out! Alpha Legends with a sick execution. Oh my goodness, Tempo Storm, no, they just went right over the top. I think they got 1 nade down to start that fight off, and then they just absolutely destroyed them. That was, I think you mentioned this before, every single team that's gotten up top first has had that disadvantage because you're trying to watch too many angles at once. Tempo did it to Queso, and then Alpha Legends did it to Tempo.
Alpha Legends were coming in from the high side of that engagement, but they had the blue at their back. So, I don't know. I don't want to say that they necessarily had an advantage in that fight, but the execution on it is really what sold it for them.
Oh, yeah.
And they just took that away. 9 kills for them so far, and there was still a bunch for them to pick up because remember, they are still on the high ground. The circle this time wasn't a hard shift. It was somewhat center, a little bit towards the north. That at least one member of Cloud9 dead center.
Yeah. I also do want to note, I keep seeing Loops popping up in the kill feed as like getting down, but they still have 2 members alive through all of this. I cannot believe how well Loops has been surviving this. Yala as well, another one of these super scrappy, resilient teams, but Anas, I don't think he realizes just how close he is to the enemy team. Oh my goodness. What a trap that was just set by a wild card. Pick a card, any card, it's your demise. What even is this? As now we're seeing Team Unique going toe-to-toe with Loops once again, who are in a bit of a rough spot. It's all about Dadine right now as Becker is getting eliminated. Beautiful grenades being thrown in from Unique. They had that solid rotation. We've complimented it a few times, but they've been able to manage this so well. But Alpha Legends up on the top of the hill, all 4 members alive. This is looking like their game right now, Cameron.
Ooh, a lot of damage on the Cloud9. Can't quite get that knock, but immediately Kyler doesn't stick and commit. He says, hey, let's go take care of the people on the south. We have rats all around us, and we're the exterminators. They can't get a full knock just yet, but they're staying alive, and I like Remen off on the backside too. They're playing this as a 3-1 just to make sure that no one is sneaking up behind them because they're slowly having to climb down the mountain, and height advantage, even one lone player could spray down a lot of them if they're not prepared.
Yeah, and they have eyes on Wildcard now. Rayman, being that scout, like you mentioned, has that info, and there's Loops finally out, but they did such a fantastic job surviving all the way to 5th place. That was so impressive, and it's not like it was snaking either. They were taking fights. And speaking of taking fights, taking the fight to Cloud9 right now is Alpha Legends, and really, this just feels like the raid boss at the end of the dungeon. This is Alpha Legends in such a great position right now. They have free reign, or I should say they should have free reign, except for the fact that they're just losing their battles up against Unique. Wait, no! Oh my goodness! And this is the go button. If you're Unique, you say, all right, we've got our downs, we've got our opportunity, let's go, let's make this happen. And Kato is basically the last man standing right now. I cannot believe it. They got all 3 members down on the side of Alpha Legends. What just happened, Cameron? This is now suddenly Unique's game. How did they do that?
My only guess is that they just had no clue that Unique were there. We're so focused in on Cloud9, and especially once they took care of Loops. But they just get eliminated as fast as they eliminated Tempo Storm, and now Unique are on the high ground. They basically allowed Alpha Legends to be the big, loud, the loud line taking all of the attention. And the second they found an opportunity, the second Alpha Legends peaked just a little bit too far, they take full advantage. 3 knocks in the span of like 2 or 3 seconds. There's nothing that Alpha Legends can do at that time. But Adder taken down by Acer, and Acer's trying to contest. He's able to climb up on the top of the high ground with the rest of Wildcard not too far behind. But let's see if this grenade can get a first opening knock.
All 4 members of Wildcard still alive. Nice. A little bit of chip damage. Finds the angle. Ooh, Acer. 1 or 2 bullets there. That could have been the difference. But C9 is here, so we have all 3 teams up. 3 or 4 members on every single one of these squads. I cannot believe how good of a job they've been able to do of keeping all these team members alive. As the blue is at their backs. If your team Unique, able to get the shots down on Bayo. Of course, the shot caller for C9. In a bad spot. He's the one sort of out there, but Unique is going to opt to just hard flank now. They've got to rotate towards this circle, which is favoring Wildcard so much right now, and they're just letting this play out. They're letting C9 and Unique go toe-to-toe. Wildcard are just going to play spoiler.
Actually, C9 are quite safe at this point, because they're so far in the low ground. If either team peeks them, if Wildcard peek, Unique can shoot at them. If Unique peek, Wildcard can shoot at them. They're actually quite safe for a little bit. I've seen it play out successfully for the team in this position a couple of times before.
I think they do end up losing Bayo and all that, though. So it is only 2 of them left standing, and that's 1 down for Unique. Good team shooting by Wildcard. Able to identify the members down. They are going to be able to get him back up, though. Lightning is there. But oh my goodness, Cameron, we have not seen a circle like... Oh!
Ooh. That was the vehicle explosion.
Yep.
You got to blow up those vehicles when you're in that position. You absolutely have to, for that reason alone. That was something they just completely missed. At least there's 1 member remaining that from Cloud9 who can hope that Wildcard or Unique go out first. But actually, now that he's a solo player, it gets a lot more difficult.
And he's sitting next to a vehicle that's not destroyed. Oh boy. 9 kills, 7 knockdowns. Team Unique has been looking so solid over the course of this game. They've been taking smart fights. And that's, I think, the big difference here. That this is the team as well. 5 kills for Wildcard. They didn't fight every single team they passed on the road. They were smart with the engagements that they took. They tried to take 4-on-4 fights where they could just identify who they're fighting, limit their angles, get the kills, and now both of these teams are in a really good spot. Pyra, though, could be the spanner in the works. But both of these teams have players that know he's down there. This could get interesting. Do they know what's down there?
I'm not sure about that. So Unique should know that there's 1 player left because they only have 3 up and Wildcard can't have more than 4. Wildcard, if they weren't paying attention to the kill feed enough, because there's a lot of chaos that happens sometimes, if they didn't recognize that Unique lost a player, they might think that it's 4v4. Maybe. We don't know the information that they know. It's a lot, but Memphis forced out in front. He gets taken out. Unique need to find something.
Yeah, they need to try and get one back because Memphis is he's just going down. That's just going to be it. And now a 4v2v1 situation for Wildcard. They just got this ridge line and they've been controlling it beautifully, hitting those shots. And that's another one going down, and they're just trying to survive through the blue, and now it's Pyra. Neither one of these teams wanted to make a stand here, and that is going to be it. Wildcard playing it slow and steady, but they win this race here in game number 1. That's the chicken dinner for Wildcard.
Yeah, and actually, they played it, as you mentioned, very, very safe. Only 7 kills. We've seen teams win with a lot more than that. But you honestly can't knock how they played this game going around that mountain. And I actually really like how they played the moments leading up to that very end game. They actually set that trap against Yala that they took out eventually. Like, the minute they saw Yala push in, we saw the last 2 members of Wildcard who were rotating in actually curve and try and take a hill so they can establish control of that area because there's not a lot of cover. It's mostly just a couple of ridges along that hill.
Yep.
And they just utilize that to the best of their advantage.
Yeah, that was sick. That trap that they had, the smokes that were down, they let the 2 members run in, and then the 2 guys in the back popped up, and the 2 guys next to them popped up. It was like something comedic out of like an old school 80s movies, like In the Woods, and the bandits are there like, ha, take it. But either way, just really good play from them. They definitely deserve that win. Let's send it over to our analysts to have them break that down.
And what a game. Wildcard, who were pretty much off of our radar for the entirety of yesterday, show up big in the very first match of the day, Glitter.
Yeah, big congratulations to Wildcard. They played that entire game flawlessly, honestly. They had great positioning, great rotations, used the mountain ridge to their advantage, and that was just clean. That was a clean first Erangel map. Yeah, let's take a look actually at the standings from the first map so you guys can see how many points were accumulated for all of these teams going into this one. And you can see Wildcard, not many kills, but they played for placement points and they got themselves 27-7.
Yeah, I think that's solid from them. I think this is something they also needed. As we mentioned yesterday, they ended up in second. They ended up getting 2 second places with 10 kills and 9 kills. So being able to get that win here in Super Weekend, get that off your shoulders, this is going to be huge for them. Another team that we were been talking about, Alpha Legends. This is one team that I was mentioning yesterday. They're becoming kind of a gatekeeper team, and I was hoping they would kind of come out of that. And guess what? They did just that by being able to get 9 kills and 8 points respectively. That is good for them. And Team Umbra, one of the teams that we really haven't been able to talk about that much because they're always towards the bottom, being able to at least collect 6 points there, that is huge for them as we go here, Glitter, to the second page.
Yeah, no, that was very, very good for them. But I think some surprises here that we see on the second page is, in fact, Dream Eaters going out early, Footballists going out super, super early. 2 teams that obviously did very well yesterday and were super aggressive, having a little bit of a rough start here on day 2 of Super Weekend.
I think one thing that I'm enjoying seeing within the first page alone as well, guys, is the fact that you have Unique, Yala, Alpha Legends, Umbra, all making it through into the top 10 there. And that's teams who struggled 100% going into the first day, even Wildcard technically, because they were on the second page in the overall standings. So it's really good to see teams who had the rough time yesterday really show up today when they're needed. And you can see here, Wildcard, you know, Glitter, they didn't really put up much damage. They didn't really put up much kills. But as you said, they played flawlessly, especially on the ridge of Mount Everest.
It was just smart. They let a lot of other teams take some battles that they maybe necessarily didn't need to push, and this might have just been the play that Wildcard needed. Like we said, you know, they kind of, I don't want to use the word struggle, but they just started off very slowly yesterday. So they needed a solid win today. We saw there that they had 7 kills and knocks. They were able to convert on things very, very well, took minimal amounts of damage, and just really cleaned up those few final zones.
7 kills. That's an appropriate number of kills, if I'm not wrong here. There you go. Let's take a look at our do-to-do moments from our first game of the day. We can talk about a couple of different things happening across the board as well. Carrillo, that's someone I think we wanted to point out, Glitter, because he definitely stepped up